yeah, you got to win against Pitt, which we're about to get into, because if you extend that losing in the ACC streak, Virginia, okay, now you lost to Miami. I think Mike's like 7-18 coming off a loss. You extend that streak, all of a sudden, the rest of the shows this year, we're talking coaching changes and things of that nature. So I hope for, Mike's sake and for all of our sakes that he can win these gimmies, and probably drop one whether Clemson gets their crap together or Florida has a hot game with their quarterback. You're going to lose probably one of those. Just beat Pitt. Let's beat Stanford. Let's get some of these wins that we predicted for that 7-8 wins. I think I just said, I think Vegas has got it, and I said 7.5. I'm not even sure which way, but I think pretty much everybody was 7-8 wins, 9 if everything goes your way going into the year. And it's funny how you get there all of a sudden and you're in the middle of it, and everybody's going nuts. So we'll
I'm gonna
see.
say it like this.
I'll be with them if we lose to Pitt.
Hey, James, before we move on to Pitt, let me just take care of some business here. So number one would be we have almost 700 people here watching. Now, that's because it's been shared all over Twitter and so forth and so on by these gentlemen. Cam has some impact there and so forth. But there's like 25 people watching on YouTube. So I'm going to be shutting this thing down on Twitter. So our approach each week is to get this thing revved up on Facebook and Twitter, in addition to what we do here on YouTube. But you can join the chat here on YouTube. We would love for you to join us on YouTube. So we're going to shut down Twitter here in just a second. So join us on YouTube. It's easy to find Voice of College Football or Mark Rogers TV, Florida State, FSU. Type any of those things in and you can find it easily. I'll actually put the channel URL in the chat and you'll be able to see it on Twitter. So let's clean that up. And as we take off on the Pitt game, I'm going to visually display our Voice of College Football merch, Florida State merch. So give it a go. We took great pains to make this quality merch. The pricing's a good price. Believe me, it is quality merch. We've gotten feedback. We've sold about 40, 50 items over the course of the entire network. People have had great feedback. So while we talk Pitt, who's coming off a 48-7 decision over BC, and I believe they had to play their backup quarterback in that game. I don't know if Eli Holstein, the Alabama transfer, who's been their starting quarterback for a year and a half, got hurt in that game. He only threw a handful of passes, and then the backup came in and carved up BC. I saw Pitt play Louisville. I saw most of that game. They were up 10 points in the fourth quarter. Louisville came back with 17 to win the game by a touchdown. That's all I've seen of Pitt football this year, but it's a pretty typical Pitt football team. You talk about Florida State being like a fringe top 20, 25 team in the country. Pitt's like what they usually are. They're like the 40th best team in the country. They're going to go 7-5 probably. That's who they are.
They got a good offensive coordinator that I know very well. Unfortunately, another guy I know well that I've coached before, and Cade Bell. A lot of Florida State fans and Florida fans would know who his dad is. His dad was Kerwin Bell, former Florida Gator quarterback. He coached at Jacksonville University. Cade played quarterback at Fleming Island, and then left to go with his dad when he went to Western Carolina, and he's building up the coaching ranks. So they're going to go out there. They're going to try to attack Florida State a little bit different. Their front, they have a good offensive line and defensive line. Their front seven is one of the better ones in college football. Not as good as Miami, though. Like, I don't think we'll face another front seven like that. It's obviously Clemson. But Mike and those guys have to go in and stabilize the culture in the locker room. You don't want to let one loss become two, and you don't want to let two losses become three. You have to state where we're at, what we're trying to build. And I think Mark, you actually took my saying. The standard is the standard. It doesn't go anywhere. But what happens is you have to shift your expectations in adjustment to getting you back to the standard. You don't just wake up one day and then you become a national champ. Like, it doesn't work like that. So but I do believe that they're going to do that. They're doing very well, and I think this game will be the one that they need to jumpstart. But like George said, if they don't, and you go 0-3 in ACC play, Mike will deserve a lot of the stuff that the vitriol in which he'll be getting. But he's a tough guy. Mike has never been a punk. Mike is a guy who understands what the job he took, and it's a pressure cooker.
Yeah, man. There's no doubt. I mean, to Mark's point about the quarterback, they found their starter in Matt Heinschel. You know, what, like you said, 323 yards, 4 touchdowns. The scary part is they had 12 guys get a reception, and it's not like 1-1-1. You've got like 8 guys with 2 receptions, another 4 or 5 with 3 receptions. But the main guys, Johnson, number 2, he had 9 receptions, 115 yards, 12.8 average. I think we'll definitely see the Heinschel kid, whether Holstein's injured or hurt or anything else. Their defense, to James's point, pretty good front seven. Like, I think they're giving up 1.8 yards per carry against the run, kind of similar to us. They're loading up against the run and taking their chances in the pass game. Lost 2 heartbreakers to ACC foes, unranked ACC foes, but hey, Louisville or whoever else, you know, could be there. Virginia, I'm not. It's kind of scary. We'll see what happens. You know, you got a kid you don't have a ton of film on, but you know he's got to win this one. You got to. It's Pitt. You know, Deuce Spann catching balls for this new quarterback over there. Wow. I mean, if Deuce Spann catches some kind of game-winning touchdown, not to put bad juju on the team or something, but yeah, there's going to be the timeline will go nuts if that happens.
Well.
So we've got Florida State as a 10.5-point favorite. The over-under is 57.5. So Vegas is saying what, like 35, 25, 30, 34, 24, something in that range, 34, 23. There you go.
Yeah, not a lot of sacks from that front seven, but 1.9 yards per rush is a pretty crazy stat. They don't allow a ton of yards, a ton of points, really anything. They're really good in those statistics, but their third down, fourth down, red zone percentages are dreadful. So I don't know if there just hadn't been a ton of possessions in those games, or they're bad in situational football. I haven't seen a ton of it, but kind of the opposite of what we saw from Miami's defense. It'd be nice if we could capitalize in some of those moments when we do get in the red zone. Not spot another team 14 points 3 weeks in a row.
So in addition to Florida State losing this game, a rivalry game, so they lose a rivalry game on the same weekend that they lose the game that, unless all hell breaks loose, knocked them out of the ACC championship game. So are Florida State fans also throwing that on the fire as well? Like, we thought we had possibly a team that could play in Charlotte after we beat Bama, and here we are only 3 or 4 weeks later, and that's pretty much crushed with all those undefeated teams at the top of the ACC.
Yeah, I have if they thought we were, again, I made that mistake last year, and then because I don't think anybody thought DJU was going to be as bad as he was. Like, that was tough to be that bad. But when you looked at it again, Mike, I didn't think, and just like I didn't think Clemson would be as bad as Clemson is right now. But when I look at the Clemson team, when I looked at Miami, SMU returned their quarterback and a lot of firepower. Georgia Tech returned a lot of guys that are coming off of a season that kind of changed them. That would just be extreme homerism to believe that Florida State would be going to the conference championship game. Now, what's crazy in all of this is that, and I know this isn't going to happen, you run the table, who cares if you go to the conference championship game? You know what's going to happen? A 10-2 Florida State team gets one of the at-large bids to the college football playoff.
True.
And because for nothing else, people are going to watch. It's going to be a highly watched game, whether they travel or whether they host. So
and this year, I mean, there's so many teams that have already got a loss or two that were penciled in at the beginning.
There's going to be more. It's going to be chaos. And I guess, Mark, covering the NFL has made me different than everybody else. The goal in the NFL isn't necessarily to win your division. It's to get to the playoffs so that you can win the Super Bowl. The only way you can win the Super Bowl is to get to the playoffs. And it becomes a lot more like golf. You can't just you might be able to drive it off the tee very, very far, but the people who got good iron game and your short game and you just keep the ball in play, you're going to win more often than not, or you're going to score really, really high. So Florida State still has the end goals on the table.
09
you do want to
Saints.
win.
Is that what we doing, James?
Believe...
We doing 09 Saints? I'll take it.
09 Saints.
They're going to be extending Mike if that happens.
The Giants. It's a lot of teams that just got there, but the real thing is this. Tony White is still trying to get his stuff in.
The Seahawks.
Gus Malzahn is still trying to get his stuff in. And again, I think I thought before, I hope to be wrong. We're a Gator Bowl team. We are not a even if we get to the playoffs, even if you look around and win the first round, this is not a national championship caliber team. And that is the truth. And there is nothing wrong with accepting that truth for right now until they prove you wrong.
If I may take the conversation away from Florida State for like 30 seconds, just to make this point that James is already making. James, I could have used you to officiate. I don't know how many phone calls, how many arguments that I had with fans this off season when I said, I am not telling you how to feel. I'm not telling you how much weight emotionally to put into games. That's not what I'm telling. I have no right to do that. You can make whatever game you want to be as important as you want it to be, but Ohio State and Michigan, among other games, but that game is not as important logistically. In the real world, it is not as important as it used to be. And then what happened? Ohio State went out and won a national championship after they lost to Michigan. It is the NFL.
Now, can I bring something up? And I know that I don't think this will happen. But speaking of that example you just used of last year's national champion, right? Ohio State played Oregon, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And they lost. If I remember correctly.
Yes. In the regular season. Yeah.
Then they played again in the playoff. And was the game close? Or was it very, very decisive victory for Ohio State?
34-0 before halftime. So, no, it was not close.
The beautiful thing about college football is no two games are the same. And you play the game on your schedule and you keep playing and you never know what's going to happen. We had a 2-loss national champion with the best player in college football being a freshman. And even he didn't have consistent 100-yard games. Hell, he was shut out against one team, the team before. You got to play. You got to play. You got to play the season out. I've seen crazier stuff happen. Florida State dropped their first 2 games, I believe, in 1989 before Bobby Bowden even won a national championship. One of those being a 30-0 loss to the University of Miami. I can only imagine what would happen if they could get. I'm not gonna. Does anybody want to say Bobby's not the GOAT now? Not one of the best coaches. Bobby took it on the chin a lot. Man. Again, this is no defense of Mike. Mike has there's a lot of things I'm critical on from his play calling, from all this other stuff. But like, man, college football is changed, and I think it's changed for the better. Because when you lost one game, a lot of times people felt they were out of it, but you're not now. So, you got to focus on Pitt, and Pitt always plays tough. They're always a good bunch, but also this is also why I don't talk bad about people, because now Tony White went from saving us from Fuller to people looking like Adam Fuller, like Adam Fuller might have known something a little bit. Adam Fuller coaches, and this is not saying Tony White's not good. Adam Fuller coaches the defense that game. Florida State knows how to shut down 10 because they're going to play man coverage on Malachi and not zone and allow him to run over routes to beat you. But that's a topic for another day.
All right. Final comments on Pitt, and we'll head on out. So, George, anything else on this Pitt game?
Yeah, I won't pick us to cover, but they better win it. Because I really don't want to do the rest of the year talking about coaching candidates and boosters getting riled up on the internet. So that's it, man. You got a quarterback, not much film. one really nice receiver, and pass defense better be ready, because that's what they're going to want to do. And hopefully Tommy can bounce back. He looked rattled against Miami, maybe the best team in the country. Didn't have the best game against Virginia. This is a big one to get it rolling. It could go one of two ways. We can be thinking about maybes and what ifs to go into 10-2 and back into the playoffs, or it could be a long slog there for FSU media the rest of the way.
Gotta win. I don't want to see all the crying and you're not going to see a bad performance out of me again. I don't want to hear all that. Just win games.
Man, you bounced back and had a tough practice today. I wish I could never hear that again in the world. If I was a coach, I'd be against all these press availabilities after the practices. But for Mike Norvell, especially after the past couple of years, yeah, it's tough to watch those anymore.